Good day. Today we want to talk to you about our automated application form and decision engine. So in that sense, we are going to chat about our platform, and our platform that we refer to is referred to as Fabric. So on Fabric, that is where all your processes in terms of different applications would be hosted, as well as your decision engine. So you can see you'll have access to our username with the username and password to log on to our database. Once you're on Fabric, you need to select whatever process it is that you want to kick off in terms of an application, or you can go to the Action Center. And the Action Center is basically just a storing hub where all the applications are stored in the cloud. All the application details, the attachments are there. So everybody who's got access to this got line of sight to the Action Center to see where in the process is an application. So from a sales perspective, they have access to see, is it still with the client and I need to contact the client, or is it with my credit department and I can phone them to find out if the application is approved. But everybody's got access to the Action Center. Your client management is basically just where you can assign different roles or different teams if need be inside your organization. So the application form that we're talking about here is where we take your credit application form with your terms and conditions, and we basically automate that. All the questions that you would ask on your application form is the questions we would automate in here, as well as white labeling it with your detail, your logo, your coloring on there. So the look and feel is your credit application. Some of the things in the credit application can be mandatory, some of them can be optional, and some things we have hard-coded so that you are not allowed to change that. But majority of the questions you asked, there are some free text there where you can ask certain questions that we don't perhaps cater for. So we basically make this application bespoke to each and every one of our clients to ensure that all the detail you would need on your application is asked for and answered, as well as all the attachments are there, as well as the terms and conditions that you would typically have for a client to complete. So today I'm going to perform 3 different roles. First role I'm going to be performing is the role of a salesperson. Second role is the role of a client completing the application form. And a third role is basically then the credit department receiving an answer of what they need to do with the application. And if we can pause there for a sec, the answer that you would receive as a credit person when you receive this credit application back from the client or from the prospect client is a recommendation via our automated decision engine. So the flow of this is a person kicks off an application form, it goes to a client, he completes it, it comes back, it goes through an automated decision engine where all your credit rules would be applied, all your thinking would be applied, and the decision engine basically gives you a recommendation based on all the current information Inoxico has currently on their database, and then looking at all the rules that you've put in your decision engine, and it basically makes a recommendation for you. So the rules in the decision engine we already have there. There's over 40 of them. You can choose which ones you want to apply, and based on that, your decisioning is automated in terms of whether you would normally approve an application given certain information, or whether you would decline it, or thirdly, whether it is referred, meaning it needs a little bit more information. So those are the 3 options a credit person will get as an answer when they receive back an automated application form through their system. Okay, so let's kick off. I am now the salesperson and I'm going to select the process that I want to kick off. As a salesperson, we give the salespeople an ability to go through a pre-vetting process. And a pre-vetting basically just means that the salesperson can check right up front if there are any fundamental risk problems with this client. So I'm the salesperson, I would be driving around and I see a company name, or I hear of a company name, and I see a company name on the advertisement, and I say, I want to engage with this company. I would go to this prospect place here where it says the sales pre-vetting. I would type in the name and immediately get an indication of whether I need to engage with them or not. And the engagement process here is based on the information we have on SIP-C. So are there any judgments? Is there any adverse information? How long the business has been trading? Those sort of rules will give the salesperson an indication whether he could engage with or not. If all the boxes are ticked, the salesperson will then pick up the phone. He will engage with the client. Mr. Client, can I send you an application form? Client agrees to all the service agreements and he says, yes, send me an application form. And the salesperson will then fire off an application form. There's a credit portal here as well, where the credit people can make use of an application form for review purposes, for increased limits and so forth, follows the exact same route. and then the automated decision engine, which is here, and then we've got supplier applications and consumer applications as well. But for this purpose, we are going to say, right, we want to kick off a sales pre-vetting process. So let's see how that is. Salesperson then types in a name of a company or something that he's seen that he wants to engage with. And he then gets options in terms of which business it is he needs to engage with. If he does not have the correct legal entity or the actual name or number of the business, he would have to go through that process of picking one. And then would, by doing so, identify which is the business that he needs to or wants to engage with. So the process is then where the system goes into the background. It looks at the application name that was selected, and it applies all the necessary pre-knockout rules. And the pre-knockout rules, as stated, are: is the business in a valid state? In other words, is it trading, or is there not a problem with subsea information? How long the business has been trading? And are there any court notices? So the salesperson would get an immediate indication saying these risk checks were done and it is in a valid business state. There are no court notices. It is not an existing client of ours, because within the group that might be a scenario. Has this business been doing long enough than 12 months? It's been in business longer than 12 months. And there are no listings found in the personal capacity of the directors. So the salesperson then says, right, I want to engage with this company. I'll pick up the phone and I'm going to phone them. But before that happens, the salesperson needs to go a couple of these. So he's then going to say, right, I want to select a application, and he starts the prospecting. What then happens is an email is sent to the salesperson's inbox to advise him of a possible lead that he can prospect from there. So the salesperson can go through this process a couple of times. He requests another one, and he does that for an hour or so, getting a couple of leads, which he then needs to engage with from a client perspective. And that's the portal where the salesperson would get. To show you what the actual email looks like, where the salesperson then receives it, you can see here in the inbox, it says a prospect has been included in a lead after evaluating initial risk checks. Please kick off the process in order to do that. So the salesperson has this in his inbox. He then says, right, I'm going to pick up the phone. I'm going to phone the client. Mr. Client, we want to do business with you. Can I send you an application? Client says, yes, sure. Send me the application form. The salesperson then says, right, I just want to now fire off this application through to the client. So he starts the process, and you can see immediately it's been pre-populated with the information. So the salesperson does not need to include that. Who does he need to send it off to? Let's just select that name. If he's got a sales rep code or any like that, he can put that in there. And then the process of obviously identifying, after chatting to the customer, the terms that we've agreed with and the credit limit we're going to supply for you today. You'll see as well that we can code on our side what type of credit report is requested, being given a certain facility, and you have an option here of typical types of reports that we provide that you can get, because part of this process is as soon as the application form is initiated from the subject, we then in the background start doing your credit report so that we speed up that entire process. We'll always have on-file information which you can base your decision on, but should you need more information, you can typically request that. And that would also be as a result of a recommendation from your decision engine. But you can see here in this instance, if we select 10,000 Rand, we as a company are happy to look at the on-file information. So that's all we're going to do. If I then click initiate as a salesperson, my job is basically done. The application form is now sent off to the client. So as a sales process, that's where it ends. The salesperson then has to ensure, obviously, that the client completes the application form, that he gets it back, but he can track all of that through the Action Center. There's no need to go to credit or anywhere else, because he's got line of sight to see the application still with the customer. Pick up the phone with the client, please complete the application, or if it's on its way back, go to credit and say, what's the result? So line of sight is there. So salesperson can then go through, and all the other prospects that he's got in his inbox, he can then initiate and go through the entire process. So here's what the email looks like when it gets to the actual client, and the client says, you've spoken to so-and-so from this company, you've asked for a credit application, please complete the application form. The customer is the role I'm now fulfilling. So I'm the client. I've received the application form. I want to complete that application. And you can see here is the white labeling part where we will give you your introduction letter. It's in your logo. It's your coloring, everything to your company organization. So as a client, I need to give consent to the credit bureau in the terms of sharing the information that we've got. I'm going to click on next. And then it says, right, we have had a discussion, and as part of the discussion, the salesperson said we're getting 30 days at 10,000. I'm happy with that. And the client, you can see, has got a lot of detail already completed in here. So there's no need for him to confirm any of this information. He basically just says, yes, it's all correct, or if he needs to change it, he can obviously address that at that stage. Go through a click process saying, yes, I'm happy with my details as it is provided by CIPC. And he then goes through the process of confirming the address, the contact details, and all the other information pertaining to the application. So this process here is then a confirmation process, and you can see it does not allow me to go ahead if I do not confirm this detail. So let's click on that, and now I'm happy to go ahead. So the process will actually guide the client as well as stopping them, saying you need to complete something before we can actually move ahead with the entire application. So there's the details as completed, and the delivery address might be different from the physical address, might be different from the postal address. They can search via those mechanisms should it be on here. For the purpose of this, we are just going to confirm that and move ahead. At the next stage, you can then see the information asked for who are we going to contact at this organization, and what are the details regarding those contact details. If we click on next, let's just get this out of here. Let's just choose another person. Let's just choose that. And then we can move ahead. So some of the things, as I said, can be mandatory. It can be optional depending on your needs. And here are typically some of the questions that we are able to ask. But again, we have free text as well, where you can decide what information it is according to your application. Does the client import or export? And you can actually answer those questions if it is important to your organization. Give us some supplier and trade references information. If that's necessary, you can add that in there as a client, as well as products and services if that is required. And again, we don't have to ask all these questions, but it is highly dependent on what information you would need from your organization. So if there's a fleet size that we need to give an indication on, we can do that, or the operational footprint. Bank account information is supplied here, so you can see the bank information. If you need to add bank statements or things like that, we run those bank statements as a process through our decision engine as part of providing a bank code for you. So if you're struggling with getting bank codes, this process here will allow you to ask your subject or the client for bank statements. And we at Inoxico do a bank statement analysis for the last 3 months bank statements. And based on that, we can provide you with a bank code. So if you're still using bank codes, ensure that you use this process to get the bank statements from the client. He needs to attach it. And by doing that, we will do a bank code for you as part of your decision-making process. I know there's a lot of issues these days with bank codes, but we have catered for that already. Tax information is provided here. And again, if you see, I can't move ahead without putting in my actual number. So I'm going to be doing that and then move ahead to tax clearance status. So if your tax clearance certificate is certified, then you need to attach it as indicated on here. But for our purposes, we're just going to say not certified and move along. Same story with the BE certificate. If that's something you need to require, if it is certified, the customer can upload that. For our purposes, we're just going to say not certified, along. So you can see here, financial figures is also something that if it is a large limit or large facility and you need those financial statements, the client can attach them at this point in time as well. And any other attachments that the client would need to do as part of the operational or application process, we hard code that for you. We put a free text in there. We allow for an application of whatever documents to be attached, and then the client can attach those as part of the process. So here in the principal review, we say, according to CIPC, this is the only person we've got as a director. And in fact, he's the only person that's going to be able to sign as a signatory. If you want to add principals on there, you can go ahead and do that. And you can put in what type of a principal you want to add. But bearing in mind, once you do that, you need to upload the company resolution to indicate that this person, other than this indicator here, is able and authorized to sign the credit agreement. Because at the next stage, we ask you, are you authorized to enter an agreement on behalf of this subject? I'm the client. If I say no, I can reassign this to somebody else, and I can do that at this process. Or if I say yes, I am, I need to confirm which of the drop-down people in CIPC's organization am I, and at this stage, there's only one director, so I'm going to say I'm this person, and then it asks me, please upload a copy of your ID document. So we're going to go through that process. I'll choose a document here. That's my ID document that we're going to upload. And then here is your terms or conditions. So as a client, I can then see all the terms or conditions that is normally in an application form. Happy with all of those. There isn't a small button here to dispute it, but obviously we don't want all the clients to be able to do that, but we advise our clients to take out anything in the terms and conditions that's usually disputed. So if you have a personal surety in there, rather take it out and have it as a separate tick box, because the clients are likely to dispute that. So if you dispute it and you say yes, you need to indicate what actual dispute there is, what number you're disputing, and then that forms outside of this actual process. So just bear in mind when the terms and conditions are in there that it is something that most clients would actually accept. As the client, then I need to confirm that the information is provided is accurate. I consent to a risk check being done. I agree to the above terms or conditions that was given to me. If I then say I want to sign the actual document, I need to get an OTP. So that OTP is then sent through to me via email. So on my email, I will receive that OTP. I copy and paste it in there, and then I will digitally sign this agreement. It's a digital signature so that the client doesn't need to download anything and then upload it or print it again. It's all seamless and paperless, and it makes for very good service. So I'm just going to go and find that actual OTP. This is our catchment area where all the OTP details are sent for the different emails. And you can see the OTP comes through in the form of an email to the client. So in his inbox, you will find the code for the OTP. So I'm just going to copy that, and I'm going to paste it in here, and I will then sign the agreement. So as the client, I've now gone through the application form, I've viewed everything, I've signed the agreement. I can go and view the signature. There's a QR code I can scan. I can see the progress that I've done here in terms of the content, terms and conditions that I have agreed to, as well as all the agreements that I said was in place. The technical detail you're going to need should you litigate in terms of the digital signature is also here attached. So me as the customer completing all of this have got line of sight of what it is that I've just signed. Back to the actual agreement. Now that we've actually signed the agreement, I can then click on next and say, right, I'm happy with anything. By continuing, you confirm the information provided is accurate. Please note that once the application has been submitted, you will no longer be able to modify. As the client, I then submit the application, and the actual process is now complete. So from initiating from a sales perspective right through to the client completing the application form and it coming back, we've done probably about 20 minutes. Once that application form is now on its way back, it will go through the decision engine, and it will provide your salespeople with an indication of what they need to probably do with that. So we've completed all the documentation. And as a salesperson, you have done your job. As a client, you have done the job, and you're now in the process where you've completed the OTP. You have done everything in terms of look and feel. So your job is to now get the actual application form and take it through the process of the decision engine to ensure that the answer is actually then provided. So let's just get to that section and see where the actual application form is. And here's the application form that has just gone through. So from a credit perspective, you will then get an email stating the client has completed everything. Your attention is required on this subject. Please review the results. So as a credit person, I'm then going to say, right, I want to view what the results are. And if I click on that, you'll see immediately that a decision is recommended via the automated decision engine. So the credit person's now received the application, and they see here, according to your rules, Mr. Client, we recommend that you approve this application. So the credit person can still go and view the full application if need be. Everything that we've just completed is there. So there's line of sight of everything. The credit person can go and view the on-file report, which is what this was based on. So that's our normal credit on-file report that you would receive on our Inoxico database. And then the salesperson at this instance can either approve it, or that they can decline still if they need to the actual application. All the details regarding the decision engine of why the recommendation was given, what risk conditions were triggered, what risk conditions were skipped. So you can see all of these rules are here. That's based where we set up your actual decision engine. And you can see the risk conditions. It is a small company, it's a private company, average tenure of the directors, and so forth. So because it's a small company, your rules state that you would need to approve it. And then that's why this recommendation was given. So you've got line of sight of all of that as well. Credit person at this stage has only one thing to do, which is either approve the account or decline the account after they have trusted that their rules that they've got in their decision engine is accurate. Alternatively, they can review the full application or look at the on-file information and come to a different decision. Bearing in mind, this is just a recommendation that is given, not a decision that is automated, but a recommendation. Therefore, the credit person at this stage need to decide what it is that they want to do. So in this instance, we're going to say we're going to approve the account, and the application is now hosted in the Action Center. So should you go to the Action Center, you'll see there's a whole lot of tabs here. And it is all applications that were approved, that is in the process, that is waiting, that has been rejected for whatever process. But now the entire process from initiating the application form right through to the actual approval of it or recommendation thereof through the decision engine is provided seamlessly. There's no paper, everything was uploaded, everything was reviewed. The decision engine looked at everything that the application form provided, as well as everything that was on our database, and an answer is given. And that, in short, is the entire process of the application form going back and forth from a salesperson through to a client and back to your credit department within 30 minutes, within 35 minutes max, but the application form is complete. If the client supplies bank statements, we can do a bank statement analysis. And if bank code is something you still need to consider, we will provide that bank code. If financial statements is attached or ID documents attached, they are all stored in the Action Center. And by doing that, you have a paperless, seamless process where everything can be stored for you electronically. So that is our process for today. I hope that you find this insightful. If there are any questions or if there are any comments you need to make, please get hold of us. We're happy to take you through this journey and automate your application process and decision process for you. Engage with us, talk to one of our salespeople, talk to the account managers, and by doing that, we'll be happily be able to get your application form automated as we have everything else. Thank you for your time.